Good evening, everyone. Hey, good evening, and welcome to our regular council meeting of Monday, January 26th. Would now like to call the meeting to order. However, I do wish to begin by acknowledging that this meeting is held on the territories of both the Sooke and Shaanu nations. I just would like to open up with a bit of gratitude towards our deputy mayor, and that would be Councillor Herb Haldane. I just wanted to thank you for stepping in at the last minute, last week to chair the committee of the whole. You also attended the Chamber of Commerce annual AGM to affirm 2 new members and also addressed a media call today with Czech News. So I was otherwise busy with family and other personal matters. So I just want to thank you for taking care of those matters and you did excellent. So maybe I should skip out more often. Just kidding.
Yes,
But
thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So on that note, council, I will turn your attention to 3.1. There is an amendment, and that is to add item 14, notice of motion. It was just something that was left. So it'll be that the agenda for the January 26, 2026 regular meeting of council to be amended with the addition of item 14, notice of motion. So look for a mover, please. That's Councillor Bateman and seconded by Haldane. Thank you. All those in favor, and that's carried unanimously. Next up, our adoption of meeting minutes, and it would be that the following council meeting minutes be adopted as presented. December 3rd special, December 8th regular, January 12th special, January 12th regular, January 19th committee of the whole. So that's moved by Councillor Pearson and seconded by Bateman. Any questions or corrections? No,
Yeah.
Councillor Bateman made some corrections?
Yeah, just a couple of names, spelling corrections in the public hearing of December 3rd.
Okay, and I believe you've provided those to staff. Thank you very much for catching those. So I'll call the question. All in favor, please. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Next up is report of our Chief Administrative Officer. Over to Ms. Gray, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple things I wanted to touch upon is from the human resources side, I believe we have an accepted offer for the full-time general support clerk and have made a temporary offer and auxiliary list offers to a couple of the other candidates in that competition. For the director of operations, we have shortlisted candidates and we'll be looking to book some interviews over the next couple weeks for that position. And the 3 department support assistants screening has finished, and I believe they're interviewing people starting in the next couple weeks as well for those positions through the RCMP. And the only other piece I just wanted to give a quick little tidbit on is I don't know if council or the community might be aware, but the district's been applying for the GFOA, Government Financial Officers Association Financial Reporting Award. Applied last year, got some feedback, weren't successful, applied for our 2024 year end, and just found out we were successful. So more to come in the next few months, but very quickly we can say we're officially an award-winning municipality. So very excited about that. Obviously, once we get the official go-ahead, there'll be some formal announcements about that. So just wanted to share that. That was really good. Really want to appreciate council and the finance team and of course, Ms. Moog, our communications manager, who really did a lot of heavy lifting to get that annual report in the format and the stats that needed in there to be eligible for the award. So just leave that there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone's work for hitting that important milestone. That's exciting. I will now turn us to item 6, which is our public question and comment period. So I would like to invite any of the members of the public that are in the gallery today, if you have something on that you would like to address council on, please come forward. It must relate to an item on tonight's agenda. So it'd be helpful to receive your name and then which agenda item you're speaking to so that we can be mindful of what you're addressing. And you'll just need to turn the microphone on, which is the button at the base, and we'll have 2 minutes for you, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Barbara Vicks, owner of Barb's Barbershop in Sooke here. I was here last week at the meeting, and I brought up the the arson that is going on in Sooke. I asked if the council could find in any way, shape or form, some sort of nighttime security to help cover what's going on out there from the unhoused people in our community. Why I'm back here again, repeating myself, is because yesterday, early morning, 1:10 to be exact, there was another fire behind the thrift store. Thankfully, our shadow security, Dave Babbage, that is around and about, he's the one that phoned it in. It's not his job to be around there, but he happened to be doing his routes and phoned it in and waited, and it was put out. But thankfully, it wasn't as disastrous as our Heritage Row building. But I said last week that we shouldn't keep putting this off, that this has to stop. We need somebody to be around. It's not during the day. There's people around during the day that can call it in. There is nobody around at night. Shadow security is the only one. I'm not related to the guy. I'm not keep putting it out there, just, you know. But he's the only one that knows every nook and cranny in this town, born and raised. And he is out there and calling these things in, thankfully. But if it was his job and was paid by whomever has that authority from this end and our taxpayers, I think that Sooke could be a little bit safer in the evening as far as arson is concerned and whatever else is going on, like the banks. The banks are having an issue with them sleeping in there because it's warm, right? So it's a big concern. Millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, well, thank you. We'll be taking all of that towards our budget deliberations. Council has been thinking of other ideas, so that discussion is yet to come.
Yeah. And when you say that, if you don't mind me asking a question, was that coming today or
No,
tonight or?
not tonight. Our budget, the start of that, the police, the RCMP presentation was the last department to report out. And now we're looking at bringing the budget in its entirety to council in February, I believe.
February.
Yeah,
I hope we don't have to wait that long, honestly.
it's part of the budgetary cycle. I hear what you're saying. But it's scheduled. We deal with it at that time.
Is there any way that you can put that schedule a little closer to?
That's what we're waiting for staff, but this is our final meeting, like February is next week. This is our only meeting scheduled for January, our final one. It's February 1st, next Monday. And then our meetings start on the 2nd and 4th of
Perfect.
February. We work around the stat that's in that date and the meetings are scheduled. The schedule goes out in a newsletter. And that's when we begin those deliberations.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, February is just next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate that for your
Thanks for the
business.
reminder, actually. Okay. Okay. I've
Thank
had a
you.
lot going on. Okay.
No, I appreciate
Yeah.
that. And you caught me there for a minute, but then I realized what today's date was. Was there anyone else in the gallery that would wish to address council regarding tonight's agenda? Okay, there's just one speaker ahead of you.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Strongwind, and I'm a resident of Sooke. I'm also a business owner and director for the Sooke Chamber of Commerce and member of the Economic Development Committee. I'd like to speak to items 7.4 and 7.5 regarding the CEDC recommendation to stand down in February in its current format. Recently, Scott Taylor, Anna McLean, Deb Schenk, and I held an open house to hear from local business owners, First Nations, nonprofits, and community members about their vision for economic development in Sooke. We will have a report and presentation for both the committee and for council about what we heard in the coming weeks and more opportunities to share feedback and to network over 2026. Secondly, I would like to emphasize that while the committee format was not as effective as we had hoped, the conversations were important and must continue, and I want to thank council for the opportunity to serve. A common thread throughout the meetings, open house, women in business and chamber meetings, and in everyday conversations is the need to unite and collaborate. We have some amazing talent, creativity, natural beauty, and potential in Sooke, and with some coordination, we can move the needle to create and attract new businesses, support existing businesses, support the arts community, agriculture, research, and more, and to create local jobs and keep folks off the highway. I hope that we can count on your support for a community-led initiative that aligns with the 2021 CEDC strategy and the recently passed OCP. Miigwech, thank you, and I look forward to the discussion this evening.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Strongwind. And Mr. Broman. You'll just need to introduce yourself, Mr. Broman, at the microphone.
John Broman. Have a rental property in 2105 Furwood Place. Got a few problems. I see Furwood Place is, I think, on the agenda tonight. And some of the deals about the sewer. I think there's a deal about the sewer there tonight. I'm on that, I'm on that system, trying to get on. Seems to be a lot of lack of knowledge, like what's going on there with, maybe there's another development. We're going to move maybe the sewer line up Furwood. I don't know, but I have concerns of what's been going on in the past, and I'd like to be involved with, there's complaints up on top of the road here tonight, I think on top of Furwood. I'll have a complaint on the bottom of Furwood. Where the line is, there don't seem to be any surveys. And it would be nice to get it all surveyed and we can try to work things out. I've been having trouble with your staff over a subdivision at the bottom of Furwood, and it seems to all relate back to surveying where that line is, the sewer line, and what's going on. So I'd like to be involved in the future. I'd like to meet with your staff and sit down and find out what's going on. I have no notice of a sewer line going up but seems to be on the agenda now. I've never been properly notified of a new line going up. I ran a private line part way up and Sooke's having trouble with it. So I think it's because maybe they're going to put a new line in, and my line that's in there now, maybe things ain't jiving. So I'd like to be involved and try to work things out if they're at all possible, because I have a current subdivision application on the bottom and seems to be stalled out for the last few years. I put it in, but now there seems to be changes with the new community plan. I don't really understand or know what's going on. That's why I
Okay.
come.
Thank you, Mr. Broman. I believe that it will be in regards to item 8.1, the liquid waste management plan review. If you're
It would be 11.1.
11.1 on the, okay, that's just correspondence from another member of the public related to
But
transportation.
like I said, that's on 11.1. I'd like to find out what's going on, if it's all possible under that part of it, because supposedly there's could
Okay.
be a.
If we don't have the appropriate answer for you tonight, though, our staff can take note and meet with you. I think it may be helpful if they scheduled a meeting and sat down. That's sort of what I'm hearing if we don't have it answered here today.
The current subdivision application, we're partway through, and if there's changes coming or whatever, I'd like to be involved.
Okay, well, our Director of Planning and our CAO Corporate Officer are all here tonight, along with our Manager of Wastewater, so they'll catch this and then we can touch base, and
Sounds good.
probably something that we don't need to address tonight, but they can follow up
Yeah.
with you and get more of the details of your property. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Was there anyone else in the chambers looking to speak? Okay, well, thank you all for joining us tonight. Council will move on into item 7, please. And that is our consent agenda, and that would be that the following items on the consent agenda be adopted by consent. We have item 7.1 correspondence, 7.2 report of the chief administrative officer, 7.4 is community economic development committee minutes, the draft, and item 7.5 community economic development committee year-end review and forward direction. So I'll look for a mover and seconder, and then I'll look to see if councillors want to remove something. Moved by Haldane, seconded by Pearson. Was there anything you would like to remove off the consent agenda, Councillor Haldane?
Nope, nothing.
Councillor Pearson?
Yeah. And,
In the microphone.
and before I move that, what I want to ask, can I ask through the chair to our CAO, what's included on the correspondence that we receive? Because there was an attachment on a letter that I'm going to talk about, and that attachment didn't show up in my correspondence. So when it's addressed to us, is that part of the consent agenda? I just want to know the rules around that.
So. Sorry, do you mean something that that comes later in today's agenda or on the consent agenda?
No, it came in on January the 9th.
Okay,
So it's on, it's in this bundle.
okay.
The cover letter is attached, however, the attachment is not attached.
Oh, I see. So the correspondence had an attachment. Well, it would usually all come to us.
Well, and my question is.
Or you would have already have received it. So it should already, if it was addressed to council and as well as info, then you would already have it. And so when you get the summary, you kind of receive it for the second time.
Right.
However, when it comes to us to pull off, then you would receive the whole thing. Because sometimes people just say, please see attached.
Okay, I'm asking through the chair to you, to staff is there a specific change in process that if it's not addressed to us, all correspondence that comes to all council is part of this consent agenda? Everything contained within?
Unless it comes to council and or a few of us, and we don't send it to info, then the staff doesn't even know that they have it.
No, it went to all of council.
It went to all of council. Did it also go to info? Or did a member of council forward it? Because then staff don't have it. They are not a part of the council email.
Okay. Okay, so
So if you forward it to info, then it will flow through the chain. If you don't, then it doesn't go anywhere.
okay, so
It's kind of tedious, but the
no,
council email is only for council.
yeah, no, I think I figured that out because the letters here. So did it not get sent to info with the attachment? Is what my question.
I don't know. It depends on who sent it to info.
7G.
I don't know.
Through the mayor, may I?
Yeah.
If it was missed and you wanted to pull it, we can certainly ensure that when you do pull it, that we'll make sure that the attachment is on what you're looking to pull.
Okay.
So if it was missed for some reason because when it got forwarded to info did not,
Yeah.
the correspondence package may not have received the attachment. So if that was the case, we will ensure that that attachment gets added. But if you can let us know which one you want to pull, then we'll make sure.
It was a letter within a letter that it came to us. There was one letter on the outside and then there was another letter that was inside that came from a legal firm.
Well, if you pull it, then it'll come in its
7G.
entirety. So it's 7G.
Yep.
And then depending on what residents sent to us, I'm not saying this one, but generally speaking, whether it flows to open or closed will depend on the contents of it. So if it's a matter that is subject to section 90, then it'll go to an in-camera meeting.
Yep.
If it doesn't fall in that provision, then it'll flow to the open meeting.
Okay.
Just generally speaking, because sometimes we receive things that are subject to subject 90 or to section 90.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so that's what you want to pull. Okay.
Thank you.
Counselor Bateman.
Yes, I was going to pull items 7.4 and 7.5 for discussion later.
7.4 and 7.5, so those will all flow into item 12. Okay. I think that is all, so I'm gonna call the question then that all remaining items be received and filed. All in favor, please? And that's unanimous, thank you. And that moves us right into section 8 reports. So 8.1 is the District of Sooke Liquid Waste Management Plan Review Summary Report.
Good evening. I'm Paul Bohemier, the manager of wastewater services. I'm here this evening to put forth the recommendation that council accept the District of Sooke's liquid waste management plan review as presented and authorize its submission to the Ministry of Environment and Parks for review and approval. I'm here this evening to answer any questions you may have regarding the review.
I was expecting 50 slides of text.
The report is 100 pages, but I attached a 3-page summary report for you guys.
No, excellent. Okay, well, thank you for the very succinct report from our staff. I don't know, it seemed pretty straightforward to me, so I don't really, other than what the member of the public raised, I don't know if that was particular to this report or if that was a different item, in which case staff may need to just follow up with the member of the public separately.
It wouldn't be related to this report. This report would be our progress on what we've, how we've done on the liquid waste management plan over the last 15 years. And it's mandated by the ministry to be reviewed every 5. So this is just to push it along and then continue with it.
Okay.
This is just a review through that process. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So Councillor Bateman, then Pearson, please.
Yeah, I have quite a few questions and I'm disappointed we're not getting a report tonight. Because one thing, it's for me as a counselor to sit here and read a report at great length over much of today and know that as a member of the public, I'm not getting the benefit of a district staff perspective on this rather critical report. Because we can begin, my question would be that I believe these have to be reviewed every 5 years. Our liquid waste management plan was passed in 2011, but this is the first such review we've ever done. Is that correct?
Through the mayor to Councillor Bateman, that is correct. And this was triggered due to the fact that we didn't have an operational certificate. So we received the operational certificate and we're legal as of July 25th this year, I believe. And then that's part of this report to be processed.
Okay, there's some really big questions within this document, and including the capacity of the current wastewater treatment plant. So a 4th basin is available, and it will suffice, according to the report, for a population of 20,000. So that will be 5 years from now, approximately, according to the calculations within the report on page 60. So the question is, when will the district begin investigation into the next location for a future wastewater treatment plant? Because as it states here, it's going to be difficult, challenging, and inevitable that we must find such a place.
We are currently planning for that process to begin in 2029, but at the same time, we have a master plan, wastewater master plan on the books for 2026, and we have applied for grants to complete that, so that would solve those issues for us.
So one of the points within the report was that clear statement that those were highly ambitious liquid waste management plants, sanitary and rainwater, and district must rely on grants to really move forward on any of the big pieces.
That is
like
correct.
Peltas.
That is correct. We wouldn't want to put the onus on the taxpayers to pay for large sections that could cost up to $20 million per area.
Yes.
So we have grants applied for as well. We have up to 80% design, and we did updates on the cost for $20-25 on those expansions.
All right. Now, so much content in this document. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin, so I'll pause for now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I hear you, Councillor Bateman. Councillor Pearson, please.
Yeah, and again, there was so many things to read this afternoon about in this. My question was around, we've had presentations through the chair in the last, on this council term about inventory of septic fields in the CRD. Are we still moving forward? Because it says in progress currently. I think that I recall the vote on council was that we didn't think so at this time, but we're moving forward with that.
No, we've created to go with the liquid waste management plan, we just had to create the inventory knowing what's there, but this still falls under Vancouver Island Health Authority.
Correct.
But then there's also benefits to the district as well. So as we speak to it that, unless we are forced, we have it as a line item in our budget to push forward on it, we will hold, without doing the septic management plan at this time. But if there is a need to go forward, we'll be prepared.
Okay, thank you. Just one other question that was kind of, how are we doing with the, I think in 2010, I remember back, I think it was 2011, actually, the CRD did testing in the basin at strategic locations. It was required by us. How are we doing with that testing?
We are still continuing that testing. We do it every year as well. I think there was missed on 2017 due to budget reasons prior to me being here, but we've really reduced the amount of fecal coliforms that are within the basin, and it's very positive results. So it would be that's why they would look at Kaltassin and Whiff and Spit as the last remaining areas of high priority to pull off of septic.
Okay, so is it safe to say it's been on a downward trend?
Oh, yes. We're seeing about a 90% drop in fecal coliforms within the basin.
90%?
Yeah.
And how many drain fields have we removed in that time frame?
We've gone from, I'd have to go through the report, but I believe we had about 1,300 people connected to sewer in 2005 when we did initially, and now we're over 4,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there a comparison between, through the chair, is there a comparison between the number of drain fields that are existing, still functioning, and how far along the sewer is? Like you say, we're at about 2,000 connections now. Is that what you said?
4,000.
4,000.
Yeah.
So 4,000 over and above the additional.
Yeah, and where they do the CRD monitoring within the basin, you'll see the peaks along Kaltassin and Whiff and Spit as the water enters the basin. Otherwise, it's pretty low.
Okay. Okay.
We had just to give you an example, like we had we're trying to get to 14 fecal coliform units per 100 milliliters, and we are receiving numbers of 25,000 coming out of Whiff and Spit right now to some of their creeks.
So through the chair, is that on the inside or the
Correct.
outside?
Inside.
Because we did have a report somewhere along in that time frame between 2011 and 2018 that the outside was looking good.
Correct.
And the inside really didn't change that much. So is that still consistent?
Just in that location, due to the fact that there's still high numbers of septic fields, which I suspect are starting to fail due to the age. Normally they get about 25 to 30 years out of a septic field, and many of those are passing their service date.
Last question, and sorry, are the numbers, because the numbers escalated on the inside of Whiff and Spit, but at Kaltassin and reserve number 1, they remain consistent, I think, through that 2011 to 2018. That was
there are still peaks depending on when they're looking. Like if they're looking within the high flow seasons, they'll see some peaks.
So if we were going to reduce it, the maximum reduce, would the best bang for our buck be extend the sewer down Whiff and Spit or to Kaltassin?
It'd be due to population. So Kaltassin was initially flagged as the highest contributor to fecal coliforms, and then Whiff and Spit
Okay.
would be secondary.
Over the time that I was here, Whiff and Spit was contributing more than Kaltassin, because with the number of places that cleaned up that fed into Sooke River, the drain fields that we did pick up on the east side or on the west side of Sooke River, that cleaned up a fair significant amount down on the Kaltassin Peninsula, down on Billings Spit. And then they changed the testing. CRD actually changed the locations of that testing, but Whiff and Spit is still continuing to be high.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So just to clarify, because I had something similar with the mapping being from 2017. So the district is now doing that monitoring, or is it a service provided by the CRD?
We contribute to funds to the CRD. The CRD performs the monitoring for us.
And then they complete it on our behalf. Okay.
Correct.
And because I seem to recall when we put together materials for the 2022 grant application that they had stopped doing the testing because we were pursuing a wastewater connection. There was something in a report somewhere that indicated that, but now that that grant was not successful, we're back to doing the monitoring.
Correct.
Okay, that's good to know. Councillor Haldane?
Yes, thank you. It's been a while since I've been here and hearing the reports and stuff, but even during the years right up to 2018, it was more animal fecal coliform than it was human anyway. So has that been addressed? I mean, I'm guessing it's farming that was happening down in Cooper's Cove and on Whiffenspit, which was causing more of the issue than human fecal coliforms.
I'd have to go back through the reports, but there has been human, it's harder. It's when I spoke to CRD regarding that kind of testing, they were saying it was cost prohibitive. Like they'd have to spend much more than what we contribute to their fund to really isolate which kind of fecal coliforms they're receiving. But they can see peaks, and just one field can really add to the amount that's being added into the system. So if we go through present day reports, last year it was actually Whiffenspit that created more fecal coliforms, and it was human fecal coliforms they were figuring over animal.
Yeah, and that was the case even 10, 15 years ago as well. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to put the resolution on the screen and then I'll go back to you. That should have been done already. That council accept the District of Sooke Liquid Waste Management Plan Review Report as presented and authorize its submission to the Ministry of Environmental and Parks for review and approval. Moved by Councillor Pearson and seconded by Bateman. I'll go back to Councillor Bateman, please.
Okay, so yeah, thank you. So we have so what's the process going forward? Now we've had this review. One of its key recommendations is a reprioritization of the 72 or those remaining action points from the 2011 report. How is that done? Will you wait for the ministry to send its approval, then the district will undertake that reassessment?
That is correct. And we've applied for a grant as well this year to do a full update of the liquid waste management plan to offset costs. And then it would be creating boards, sitting with yourselves and discussing future priorities for the district of Sooke.
So would one of the immediate priorities be to create this this monitoring committee that was recommended, which would do the kind of heavy lifting that this council perhaps is beyond our capabilities?
That is correct. And there actually was a monitoring committee, and this is a requirement from the ministry that was established in 2011, and it was disbanded as soon as it was created. And then we would be looking to actually to be compliant with the ministry to go through that process as well.
Okay. I see things like some big ticket items here, like the district owned Santa dump, which would cost us $750,000 with the $35,000 annual. So that the plan was highly ambitious.
Extremely ambitious,
Yeah.
with unrealistic costs added to it. So it was just to update that some of these were beyond our capability as a small municipality.
Yeah.
And then just to streamline the process.
Okay. I was curious about the overall catchment area rankings. Okay, so Kaltassin is first.
Correct.
Then in the 2011 report, there's a reference to Whiffenspit North. So I remember speaking to Mr. Carter about this back in 2021. And I was curious, why did we go from Whiffenspit North to all of Whiffenspit?
The reason being, it would be all of Whiffenspit would be contributing to the issue, and then it would be much more expensive to add in several lift stations at phase instead of one lift station at the bottom to collect the whole system at once.
Okay. I'm again back to the CRD monitoring. I've seen the 2021 numbers, and it very clearly indicates the pollution hotspots are Cooper's Cove, as you state, and the mouth of the Sooke River, and a little bit into the basin just west of the South Nation, and Whiffenspit itself. That area had very little activity. So my question would be, why does council not see these reports as they come in? Because if indeed we're going to be driving towards a CRD bylaw adoption, we need to sell this concept to the public. And if indeed we're seeing pollution hotspots near Whiffenspit, for example, yeah, I haven't reached a question yet, but maybe you'd like to comment on some of that.
I can provide these reports as well. This is not just solely myself, which is doing the reports. This is also done through engineering and parks and environmental services as well, because I I manage the wastewater portion. They do more of the environmental monitoring. I have all the reports as well that they do. So I can speak with Ms. Moog and see if we can get those to you guys.
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you. Yeah, and finally, there's some small ticket items here, such as, you know, the use of the district's website to ensure lots of public education pieces, loaning field equipment to stewardship groups, funding for stream keepers teams, which are all pretty small, as I say, ticket items compared to the dockside pump out system or the Santa dump. That's a comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bateman. Councillor Haldane?
Yes, just one more question. So the whole idea behind septic systems is they have to be replaced in a number of years. Some of will last 10, 15, 20 years. So there's a huge aging system down on Whiff and Spit anyways. And especially with, there's a big subdivision down there with it's got multifamily in it, you know, townhouses as well as plenty of single family homes. And they're on a common septic field system. And there's probably 2 or 3 of them there, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
So when those go or those start to fail, I mean, you're talking about multi-millions of dollars to try and put that back together again. So I would think that maybe given some testing that you're talking about in this plan here, we could kind of put it together with them putting their money towards our new system rather than putting money towards a septic system on their property that may only be there for another 5 years and then have to be dismantled to hook up to our system that we plan on doing. Is there any chance of working with the strata groups down there and finding out if we can work something so that they don't spend millions of dollars on something that may be obsolete within a few years, and we could use that, some of that funding to help their situation and at the same time help augment some of the costs of taxpayers having to put septic in?
Through the mayor to Councillor Haldane, during the previous attempts that we made to add the system in, we actually had those conversations with those strata owners. And that was part of the plan was to, and they actually had very cheap hookups to abandon their fields within place and then connect it to our system. And it wouldn't be, and we also offered that if they, had they done a new system recently, we would give them 10 years after we had put the sewer system in to connect so that they'd have a chance to use their field and save money before attaching to the system.
Okay, fantastic. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so part of that was sort of done in that, but the big piece was securing a grant because of the cost would otherwise was quite extensive for residents to manage solely on their own. And then it would be a new, you couldn't draw from the existing sewer specified area reserves for the new one. Like it's a whole separate system, right? Because the reserves are to support what is already in the SSAs, would be establishing a new sewer specified area. But a big part of that was receiving the grant to help offset the connection and the cost.
Yeah, and for sure. And I think you'll find that even the single family homes that aren't part of that subdivision, you're looking at $35,000, $40,000 to do a redo of a septic system. And again, they do fail after 15, 20 years many times. So those people are going to be coming up with money in one hand or money to hook up the sewer. Be nice if they could do a one-time hookup to the sewer as opposed to doing another septic field. That may only be active for another 5 years, and then they'll be stuck paying another 15 grand to hook up to our systems, you know, so to try and work out a plan that kind of could flow, I guess.
Exactly. No, that makes sense.
Okay.
Flow, that's very in line. Thank you. Councillor Pearson, did you have a final question?
Yeah,
or comment?
I think I was the mover, wasn't I? I don't know. Anyways, my question would, in that case, is that land owned by the strata? Does anybody know if that land is owned by the strata where the field is held?
Yeah, there are 3.
There are, I think they're all owned by the stratas. Like
I
they're
believe
not
believe you're
district.
correct. Yeah, that's not district owned property. I believe you're correct. But then there would be extensive remediation in that area as well to pull that system out if you wanted to use it for anything else in the future.
I just know that there's been a couple of remediations like right around here
Mhm.
where the field was converted to sewer and there's now houses and townhouses sitting on those properties. So there is commercial value in exchange for that space, right? So,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's similarly with the Wadham's property that the district does own within the Sooke Town Center was the the septic field for the Evergreen Mall. And so that's where it is that we've seen that within the sewer specified area itself, and that's allowed for infill. Yeah. However, I think that also speaks to the concern though that some residents have where they don't want the density. So that's the other part then is where the community growth is. So more to come on that. But for tonight, we are simply receiving this report for information and we'll send it off. And then this will start the cycle of the next liquid waste management plan, followed by ongoing review and the stormwater, the testing results. For the testing, what could happen is that staff just forward it to the consent agenda. So then it's received for information like many of the other reports as they come in. Okay. All right. So I'll call the question then. All those in favor, please. And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you for your work, Mr. Beamier. 8.2, designation of acting mayor for February 2026. So I did ask our corporate officer to bring this forward, given the fact that Councillor St. Pierre is off due to injury. And he is doing very well. However, as we said earlier, February is next week. So he should take the time he needs to convalesce. But in the meantime, the way our policy stands is that if the mayor's not available, the deputy mayor has the assigned month. In the event of the deputy mayor not being available, the next deputy mayor in line would assume those responsibilities. So that's all straightforward until the councillor in question, the next deputy mayor, is on vacation. So then it's like, okay, then our staff have to see who's around and who's available. In the event that it were to be a meeting, you would have to then appoint a chair and go through that process. So at this point, it just seemingly made sense and Councillor Haldane is available. That the recommendation is that Councillor Herb Haldane be appointed deputy mayor for the month of February 2025 in place of Councillor Tony St. Pierre. Or pardon me, 2026, sorry, Councillor. So that's moved by Councillor Pearson and seconded by Bateman. So all straightforward. We do hope to welcome Councillor St. Pierre back, but this just has a clean process going ahead. Would you like to motivate further, Councillor Pearson? I almost called you St. Pearson. Anything else? Okay. And I'll try if anything comes up to give you more notice than an hour. I could. Okay. Thank you. All those in favor, please. And that's carried unanimously. Okay. Thank you. 8.3 is a bylaw here for adoption. 9.1. That council adopt the development procedures amendment bylaw number 933900-01 2025. Moved by Councillor Bateman and seconded by Councillor Pearson. Okay, this has been moved through everything, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Number 10, new business, of which I have we do. We see a hand waving. Go ahead, Councillor Pearson, new business.
And this is a technical question to you, the chair. Is this an opportunity where we could forward a motion of business arising for discussion? I'm always unclear on this new business piece of it.
Well, let's see here. Let's test our corporate officer with that. Explain the new business category and what we're using it for.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, traditionally a new business section on an agenda would be for items which are being presented either from staff or as a result of council activity which have not previously been considered by this body, or at least not recently. That would then contrast with unfinished business, which would be items which need to be continued for whatever reason. The Sooke procedure bylaw does not go into extensive detail about the purpose of the new business section beyond that. Although I would note that there are provisions for if there are matters arising from specific items, then we would normally handle that as the item is discussed. If there is a notice of motion that you would like to bring forward on a completely novel topic, then there are provisions for making those and making that announcement, and then that would be considered at the next agenda. Or alternatively, the procedure bylaw does allow at the start of the meeting for any member to propose new business, which has not previously had any notice provided, which would then be added to the agenda with a majority vote. The bylaw does specifically state that the only time that can be considered is when the agenda is being adopted. Although I would note that if for whatever reason a unanimous vote of council wishes to change that, then that's usually a strong grounds for waiving that provision and allowing actions to happen without notice.
Wow, thank you. So I'm going to test the water. Then. So I'll ask through the chair.
We should ask the chair.
The chair, yes, sorry, not through the chair, to the chair. So given the fact that we adopted an agenda and new information came forward as a result of the public input, I would wish to consider, or I would wish to propose to council to consider discussing an urgent issue with regards to in-town arson. And I know you've addressed it fairly well, but is there anything we could do in the interim is going to be my eventual question. So how would I get that for council discussion now?
I think it's the case, what we could do, I'm going to make this try this is under item, like what we'll do is go through the remaining business. We could call for a recess. And if you in that time period just wrote down a motion and sent it to staff, then what we could do under the notice of motion is put that up on the screen.
Okay.
So that gives you a bit of time to write it. So we're not sort of like reading your mind or wordsmithing on the fly. Get it to staff. We'll just go through the remaining items. We can call for a bit of a recess because we'll probably need one by then. And then we could deliberate then and then ask to waive notice and then enter into that discussion. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And then that gives everyone a bit of time just to, because we're all sort of focused on the content in front of us, and then we can then sort of reset and process what it is that you have arising. Okay? Sounds good. You're challenging me?
No, I'm not challenging.
Okay, then what is your question,
I'm
Counselor?
not a question, it's a comment. I've circulated.
In the microphone.
I've circulated a potential notice of motion on this subject.
You've done one as well? Okay,
Yeah,
so
not
here,
as well. I
Okay.
shared it with council. It is different.
it's different. Okay, so I don't know what either one of you are actually referring to because well, no, I'm not saying that it to be derogatory. I'm focused on the meeting. I'm not reading emails, which is why it's good to take a recess so then I can actually read what it is you're thinking because I'm not a mind reader. But then between the two of you, we can put them both on the screen and maybe end up with a perfect motion. Excellent. So just bear with us, members of the public. We're getting there. Okay, so we will carry on into correspondence. The first one being 11.1 was requested for discussion by Councillor Beddoes, who is not here today. So I'm going to ask staff to just postpone this, that council postpone this to the next regular meeting of council. I know that our staff have responded to the writer, but there may be something else that Councillor Beddoes wishes to raise, but I'm not sure what that is. Not a mind reader. So a motion to postpone to the next meeting by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Haldane. All those in favor, and that's carried unanimous. Okay, 11.2 was requested by Councillor Pearson. So he is in the room. So we'll have it that this one to be received for information by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Bateman. Go ahead, Councillor Pearson.
Yes, just that it was part of the correspondence that was, I felt was unfinished business as a result of our last meeting, but I have seen an enormous amount of communications back and forth between staff. So I'm fine with receiving this report for information at this time, because I think it's starting to get clarified. I don't have any outstanding questions with regards to this piece of correspondence at the moment. So.
Okay, wait, stay tuned. Count the seconder. Anything? Nope.
No.
Okay. Call the question. All in favor? And that's received. Thank you unanimously. 11.2, 11.3 was also polled by Councillor Pearson. So motion please to receive this correspondence for information by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Bateman. Go ahead, Councillor Pearson.
This one's a little bit trickier because the definition of land alterations in the OCP is different language than what was there before. Land alteration, I would like more of a robust discussion on what is land alterations, because it is causing angst in the community. That's it.
So would this be something then that staff can clarify with an FAQ? Frequently asked questions. I'm getting some nods about that. Do you need an answer right now, or can staff take that away?
As long as there's some not careful review to, is there ways that we can improve that language through that FAQ? That would be what my request would be. Because I think people are running around saying what they think. What does land alteration mean to me or to you? Or what does it mean to the district is what's critical, and to the people who are using that document. That's it.
Just to clarify, we do have a definition in the official community plan that defines what land alteration is. Are you suggesting that that definition isn't clear, or people aren't referring to that definition, or?
All of the above. Like it just that, when I look at land alteration, to me, I think, okay, land alteration, am I building something, am I constructing something? If you look at the way it's written in the OCP, it looks like if you move a rock, a tree, a shrub, or a root, cut down a tree, bulldoze the tree out because you want to remove the root, plant a lawn. Those are all parts of land alteration. How in depth and what and I know that you've got the discretionary power to do that. It would be nice just to have a little bit crisper, crunchier definition for me personally.
Okay, so I think it's what land alteration means to the district.
Right.
And when that pertains. So we'll have our staff work that out. That's great.
Yeah, just to maybe add to what Mr. Marshall's saying, and Councillor Pearson was alluding to, is there will be numerous frequently asked question documents being released this week and in the coming days and weeks. So perhaps depending when those get released, if there's further questions or clarifications, that will maybe inform. Because I appreciate some of this correspondence is a little bit behind, to your point. We've responded to a few of these. I know there's a new flurry of emails that have come in. So things hopefully will be a little clearer after these FAQs, frequently asked questions, get released, and then we can follow up as appropriate if more clarity is still required.
Councillor Bateman?
Yeah, so as the seconder, I'll just note, I do look forward to these facts on hazard trees and land alteration. I feel that the glossary definition is a solid one. It does refer to minor hand clearing or maintenance activities that do not materially impact slope stability, hydrology, or ecological functions. So yes, you can move a rock. How big the rock, though? That's the question. So yeah, everything could be explained. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, more to come. Thank you. I'll call the question on receipt. All in favor, please. And that's carried unanimously. 11.4 is the report from the ombudsperson BC, July to September 30th. And that is here for information by Councillor Bateman as the mover and Councillor Haldane as the seconder. Go ahead, Councillor Bateman.
Okay, well, I always find these reports fascinating. We get quarterly and annual reports from the BC ombudsperson. And, we at council occasionally and sometimes often hear complaints about the district and our own decisions. And I think it's worth noting that in this quarterly report for the 3 months ending September 30th, there was one inquiry to the office of the ombudsman from a Sooke resident and one formal complaint that was closed without further investigation after initial analysis. In 2024, there was just one inquiry and 2 complaints. Now, this is out of a grand total of 6,603 inquiries and complaints that were received in 2024. I raise this for two reasons, because I believe it reflects well on the District of Sooke and the business undertaken by the district, that it does not generate complaints to the ombudsperson, and also as a public education piece, that if you are a keyboard warrior and you do want to put words into action, then you can indeed reach out to the office of the ombudsperson. And that is readily available online with full guidelines on what they deal with and how to make a complaint. So that's that.
Thank you. And to clarify, that 6,000 plus number was complaints received by the ombudsperson's office, not the District of Sooke.
That's right. Yes.
Yes, thank you for
Yeah,
that.
those go out to provincial ministries, commissions and boards, crown corporations, regional districts, libraries, school districts, professional associations, health authorities, and municipalities.
Yeah, so that's all of BC in particular, and we have nothing further. So thank you for raising that. I'll call the question. All in favor of receipt, please. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. We're getting into items removed from the consent agenda. So we'll start off with 7.4. And that is the meeting minutes. So I'll first put the resolution forward to receive the minutes for information by Councillor Bateman and seconded by Councillor Pearson. Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Bateman.
Well, 7.4 are the draft minutes of our January 14th meeting. I'm chair of that committee, the Community Economic Development. And during the item 6.1 or 6.2 of our report, we did discuss a year-end review and forward direction. We as a committee reached a consensus agreement that the committee's nature as a standing committee was not effective. It sort of, given that council needed to direct traffic to the agenda, it sort of handcuffs the members and prevented the kind of nimble activities that were desired by committee members. One of the key points we raised was a recommendation that the next council consider a select committee as the way forward, as was the case in 2020 and 2022, that period for the CED committee. If I can find my speaking notes, I'll be better off. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, so that's about it. The motion that was raised was that the council conclude the committee's current term after its February meeting, not renew the committee in its current form, and consider alternative models for economic development input, such as a steering committee or other format. So that was, so we're seeking council's support in concluding the committee's current term. Or in fact, the mayor's support, because this is your select committee. Standing committee, yeah.
So that's sort of the difference, is standing versus select.
Yeah.
So standing tends to be formed, it's basically an extension of council. So which is why the majority of members are members of council. The intention is to advance work that is in alignment with the budget, with council priorities. So it's not the most nimble form of a committee where you may want more of a free-flowing conversation, because there's a quorum of council sitting there that can move business, but not all of council is present. So you can see why that format, it works and it doesn't work. But in some cases, in years past, there's been different versions flowed. I think we started in a select form. However, COVID then canceled out any ability to meet. And then the priority shifted because the world as we knew it had changed. And then we had to pick up council business on where it was left abruptly recessed when the world changed, and carry on in that way. And also the ability to meet is a bit different. Which is why sometimes there's been standalone commissions that then run entirely separate from council, reporting out maybe annually or twice a year, depending on what council mandates. But in this case, it was like, okay, let's try this format and see, in part because there was a majority of council members that wanted to be a part of it. So then it doesn't allow for that, I think the more, nimble way that, the committee would have desired with the quorum of council sitting present there. So at this point, though, these are simply the minutes that we're receiving tonight, but perhaps the next one is where you actually have a call to council. So I think for now, we can just receive these, approve these minutes, and then we'll advance to the next item. Okay, so I'll call the question on the minutes. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. So on the next one is 7.5, and this is sort of the recommendation that council conclude the committee's current term after its February meeting, not renew the committee in its current form, and consider alternative models for economic development input, such as a steering committee or other format.
Yeah, so I'll move that.
So that is moved by Councillor Bateman and seconded by Councillor Pearson. Go ahead, Councillor Bateman.
Okay, so as I've already motivated around the first component of this is that the committee's current term end after our February meeting on February 2nd. The key portion for our committee is, will council find a way to consider alternative models for economic development input, such as a steering committee or other format? That was the motion at our January 14th meeting. And there's a clear need because the committee did do some good work, and it has generated conversations above and beyond the fantastic work being done by our community, Gail Scott, CED officer, and through our support of the Chamber of Commerce through the service agreement. So this was a third component of the work being done on this strategic plan priority. And the hope is the committee would like to see some continuity post this committee. And staff at the meeting of January 14th did discuss some options and alternatives. So my hope, and I have another motion here, if indeed we will consider alternative models for economic development input, to request, but I guess we need to vote on this first.
Okay, before I go to the seconder, I just want to propose an amendment here because I find the language a bit confusing in here. And I wonder that council conclude the committee's current term after its February meeting, period.
It could be a semi.
I think not renew the committee in its current form doesn't need to be in here. Because we are concluding the committee. So that.
Yeah, that's true.
That's where I'm like, I don't understand the resolution. So the amendment would be to strike out, not renew the committee in its current form. And to strike that out if staff can do that. And then it says, and that council. And then the part and consider, so is it council to consider? Is it council to direct staff to consider? Is staff to report back with options? Like, who is considering this?
Well, that's my follow-up motion, but yeah, let's keep amending this. So the amendment.
So, okay, so let me just get.
Yeah.
If you have a follow-up motion, does this other part need to exist in this motion if the follow-up motion is to do this part, or is it together?
Well, the follow-up motion is requesting a high-level report on these kind of alternate models.
Okay, so we can probably then just, okay, here we are. So the chair is getting clunky now. So in terms of the First Amendment, is that friendly?
Oh, yeah.
To me, it seemed like it was adding the
self-evident.
same, it was self-evident that if we're ending it, we're ending it. It has nothing to do with its form. Whereas the second part, because then it's the case of, you know, and I agree that this work needs to happen, but who are we directing it to? Is it the committee? Is it council? Is it staff? Is it something else? So that would be why we need to action it in that way. So is this in bold what you provided?
Follow-up.
So this could then be an amendment because we have the same, we're still on an amendment. We're still on this first motion here. I can't multithink. And then the amendment would be that council directs staff to provide a high-level report on alternative models such as a steering committee or other format to maintain coordination communication with the economic development community, ensure continuity from one council term to the next. So this would be an amendment and then we'll eliminate everything else. Okay, so yes, to our corporate officer.
Thank you, Chair. Just before you move a second and discuss that, and to avoid the need to amend any amendments, which can get extremely convoluted.
Yes.
I just wanted to flag a slight concern from a statutory perspective on the exact wording of the type of committee that you would be directing staff to consider. That being that council can certainly consider council committees in many different ways and use language to indicate that they want them to undertake certain activities. But the only two types of committee known to the community charter are a standing committee appointed by the mayor and a select committee appointed by council. So the steering committee referenced, we would just want some clarity as to which of those two types that would fall into, which I believe Councillor Bateman has indicated would be a select committee. But I just wondered if you might want to have the clarity on that in the motion, just to ensure you're getting the report you wanted.
Can we just suggest then take out such as a steering committee or other format? It could be that council directs staff to provide a high-level report on alternative models to maintain coordination and take out that middle part. Okay, so this is the amendment. So Councillor Bateman is moving this amendment, seconded by Pearson. On the amendment, go ahead, Councillor Bateman.
Well, I think it's good work is underway. We need to find a ways to continue this work creatively over the remaining length of this term, and more critically ensure that some potential third-party organization that has council liaisons on it continues on into the next term. So it just strikes me it's a needed part. I know we do work with the chamber, but there's a broader community out there focused on economic development that we need to continue to liaise with and draw particularly on their expertise in the field in which they specialize. Yeah.
Councillor, thank you. Councillor Pearson?
I don't have a problem with the amendment, and that's what we're talking to now. I think that the bigger discussion is the effectiveness and the actual direction of any committee, right? So you got to measure it at some point.
Yeah.
And I think it requires, this is good. We're gonna go down a road of exploring different options, but I think some of those different options should come to, committee of the whole for a real robust discussion and input from multiple places, because what I feel economic development is may be totally different than Councillor Haldane. And I think that's one of those big, grander discussions that really needs to take place. I could put out anecdotal things like, economic development could be, building more houses or faster building permits. There's a lot of things that could potentially play into it. It's not just always about tourism, how do we do it? But it's also an important part of it. There's so much woven together with economic development that it's hard to give a committee a kind of no terms of reference or terms of reference that are loose, and yet there's this tendency to go off, and then the key performance indicators at the end. We seem to be disappointed in ourselves sometimes, and I think there's different ways to look at economic development. Anyways, I'll support the amendment. Sorry. That's a long discussion.
No, thank you. I'll go to, just hold for a second, Councillor Haldane, our Director of Planning. I saw your hand.
Yeah, just another point of clarification. Is it understood that it may not be a council or District of Sooke form of committee of some kind, that it may be something in the community itself that is outside of the jurisdiction of the municipality?
Yes, that's why I think it was helpful to remove that particular language, because it's fine to know what council can do, the select one, the standing one. We've tried both. There has been in the past a commission that existed previously. And then there could be outside entities, of which we have many within our community, that has a liaison from council sitting on, or even a member of staff. That may be an option as well. But I think in reading this is also to take the work forward to the next council, because then any committee we form ends with this term. And then a new council will come in and will form their own, but that the work carries over like bridges. And so I think the other option is, to your point, sir, is that maybe some things are better remaining separate than a member of council. I don't know, but I think that's part of it. And that's where we have a number of not-for-profit and different organizations that run independent fully of council, of which some members of council are actually appointed to bridge, and then they report into us back and forth. So, but I think that's the conversation that we need to have. We tried something for a year. We've learned some things, but I think the district overseeing everything doesn't work for this particular one, whereas in the case of the land use committee, it does work. It didn't at first, but it does now. So I think. Councillor Haldane.
Yes, I totally appreciate where you're coming from, Councillor Bayman. The only thing I don't like doing all the time is, direct staff to provide a high level report. I get it. Staff has a zillion things they have to do, and they're providing reports for everything under the sun for us at this point. I think something like economic development has to be done by business people and people even like us who sit on council, who have just some fresh ideas and things going on. After being at the chamber meeting there the other night and stuff, those are the groups that you want to come up with a high level reports from. Those are the people in the trenches trying to make a living with poor economic development capabilities within our own town. And really, our staff would be maybe here to help with the rules. So if we needed to change some rules to make it a little bit freer and easier, and maybe some rules that make sense in some cases with some of the stuff, home-based businesses and everything else. So I'm not going to support it, but not because I don't believe your intentions, what you're trying to do. I just don't want to give staff any more things that they have to do. They come up with a report that you and I can look up on AI tomorrow if we want a high level report based on what people in the world think about economic development and where we could get out of the way, whatever. But I think you need to talk with all the people that are going to be using whatever it is, the information we come up with. So I'd like to do similar to what Councillor Pearson was saying, is sit in a committee of the whole, invite people, do what Ms. Strongwind and Scott tried to do down at the Cooper's Cove there, but even on a bigger level, so we can get more players, more people, share some ideas. They got to be able to tell you easily what the handcuffs are within the district here and what we need to do to make it easier for them, I would think. But so I'm not going to not support it because I don't agree with what you're trying to accomplish, just because I don't want to give staff more stuff to have to do a high level report, but might take even more time, and then staff can use their time more wisely with something else.
Okay, just on that, thank you for raising Ms. Strongwind's event, who spoke earlier today. She's in the process of developing a report that summarizes some of the work that was learned at that summit. So this will also, though, when this report comes back, we'll have an opportunity to highlight and receive that. And then that might be the report that we endorse as going forward, as we've seen with other, like the cultural plan and others that have been done by various entities in the community. But it's to allow, we need something to come back to council to close out and finish off the work that's been done. So here's what the committee's going to have their final, their final meeting and their report. There may be other conclusions that come from independent that will sort of all come together, but it's helpful to have things sort of organized it would be similar to Mr. Bohemier's report, where there's a very brief staff presentation with other reports attached to it, which then would be having members of the community come and speak to those. But we need to put it in somewhere.
Fair enough. So can I make a friendly amendment then?
Yes.
That
Well,
we,
we'll see if it's friendly.
yeah, say that we get the high level report from our economic development officer, not just a blanket staff to come up with this big, but that's her job and that's what she does for us.
Well, our CAO will direct the staff, but it would make sense that it would come from our ECDev officer, who is also a part of that committee. But we'll have to let our CAO make that determination.
Okay.
We're getting in the weeds by.
No, I wasn't sure how the whole thing works down.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like our CAO will delegate that to the appropriate person so that it pulls together.
I just didn't want Rachel to be mad at me tomorrow for not.
Well,
bringing
there'll
it.
probably be something else, so it's okay. Okay, Councillor Bateman?
Yeah, so thank you for all those comments and hopefully majority support here for this. The high level reports, as I mentioned, there was a fair bit of staff input at the January 14th meeting with some interesting ideas. Ms. Owen has been involved directly with these kind of committees when she was in UQLIT. And what's the other? Oh, high level. It's interesting. I was looking through some old minutes, and Councillor Casper had said, I want a one-page report. Maybe that's what we need here. Just keep it simple, give us some bullet points and set the stage for that committee of the whole or whatever else council might choose to initiate upon receipt of this report.
Yeah, because anything that comes forward, unless it's correspondence, is sort of tied to a staff report, but the staff report can just be the cover page. Okay, more to come. Does that make sense? I'll ask our staff. They know what we're expecting. Perfect. Okay, I'll call the question. We're on the amendment still. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously on the amendment. So on the main amended motion, is there anything further from anyone? I'll just ask our staff, March, April-ish. I guess part of this will be, we have budget coming in, which is important. So the committee will conclude its work in February. We're right into budget. It may come slightly after that because we also have community grants that we're going to need to find meeting times for. There's a stat in there. Yeah. So I would say like in the coming months. Is that reasonable? But we got to get through the budget. So let's just be mindful of meeting space and capacity. But it'll come. All right. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, thank you for your work chairing that committee, Councillor Bateman, as well to Ms. Strongwind, who's here tonight, for your participation and contributions over the last year. Okay. That concludes that. I'm going to now call for a brief recess. It's 7:17. It's amazing. Okay. Let's reconvene at 7:30. Then we can get those motions forward. We will start then with our council verbal reports. Then we'll move into the notice of motion and then look to conclude tonight's meeting. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We are recessed till 7:30. After our health break, it's 7:30. Members of council, thank you. It's 7:30. Welcome back. I am going to, as chair, take the liberty of reordering the agenda. So we're going to start with the notice of motions. And then those members of the public that are here tonight, of course, are always welcome to stay, but can we get the new ones first? I totally want to mess with everybody tonight. So these can wait. I want to get the ones that members of council forwarded because I want to know if they will be discussed tonight. And then because we need to waive notice in order to receive them. So the notice, there's two notices of motion. I'll read out the first one by Councillor Bateman. That council asks staff to schedule a special council meeting or committee of the whole to discuss issues related to community safety in the town core. Sooke RCMP calls for service increases and future policing costs. So in order for this to be discussed tonight, council must waive notice. Otherwise, we will move on to the next one. Okay, so Councillor Haldane is calling to waive notice. That's seconded by Councillor Pearson. Pretty straightforward, or unless anyone feels a reason to motivate. It's Councillor Bateman's motion, so I'm sure he's fine. So I'll call the question on waiving notice. All those in favor, please. That's carried unanimously. And then the second one by Councillor Pearson is that council directs staff to bring forward a timely report on potential assistance the district could or may provide in the short term, increasing security surveillance in the downtown business core currently experienced increased crime damage. So another request to waive notice by Councillor Pearson and seconded by Councillor Bateman. So that would mean that we would deliberate on them tonight. All those in favor, please. And that's carried unanimously. Okay, so those are both now live and on the floor. So we'll start with the first one by Councillor Bateman, and I'll read it out again, and then we can get into discussion. That council asks staff, it should be that council directs staff, because we can say ask and they'll say no, but just that council directs staff to schedule a special council meeting or a committee of the whole to discuss issues related to community safety in the town core. Sooke RCMP calls for service increases and future policing costs. So that's moved by Councillor Bateman and seconded by Councillor Pearson. So go ahead, Councillor Bateman.
Well, this follows up on a few things. From last week's committee of the whole meeting at 1 o'clock last Monday. And Detachment Commander Greg Wilcox was here to present a very substantial report that identified, again, as he did at his quarterly report, this significant increase, 22% plus increase in calls for service within the district. That is a truly alarming number, particularly given that calls for service across the province are down 11% in 2025, and here we are up 22%. So I feel that needs a fulsome discussion. There's also, of course, the meeting began with Barb joined us and presented her deep concerns, which are addressed well in Councillor Pearson's motion. But yes, there is a growing sense that it's a little dicey in the town center, and we need to look at ways to look at the issue, look at its scope, look at its nature, and how do we address community safety in the town core. Now, the Police Act in 2024, there was an amendment to allow municipalities to hire community peace officers effectively who could walk the beat during daytime hours, which of course is not going to deal with our overnight issues, but it would be anyway, I think it's a hot button topic at the moment, and particularly with future policing costs, we have this, as our detachment commander said, the second worst to cop ratio in the province at 1 to almost 1,300 residents. And we definitely need to bring that down for reasons related to retention in particular, because the number of case files on any officer's desk is out of control, and they'll go elsewhere as much as they Sooke is a desirable location. We're going to lose, so retention of officers and just the general nature of what the district of Sooke taxpayers can expect over the next 5 years in terms of getting back to, I think his goal is a 1 to 900 or 950 or something. So anyway, I think it's an opportunity to sit down and fill this room with people who care deeply about this issue.
Okay, the main point of this though is to actually schedule this. So
Yep.
over to Councillor Pearson.
Yeah, a lot of good things that you said there, Councillor Bateman. I think that there was a massive dump of information at the committee of whole with very little question time for us to mine into some of those details. Thanks to the chair, because we did get through everything. You know, we were finished at 4:30, but that report, I think we only got like 3/4 of the way through the report. And I have a lot of questions that I would like to, I think that we could ask Staff Sergeant Wilcox. Clarifying questions, the numbers are the numbers, if it's 1 in 1,300, well, obviously something has to be done about it. And it's not just our municipality, this is again, we're facing this right across the province, although there is some good numbers in other municipalities. I just think a committee of the whole gives us another opportunity to ask deeper dive questions. That's it. So I'll support the motion.
Okay, Councillor Haldane?
Well, yeah, and the other thing that we need to bring forward is a little bit more of the background information, and I've given some information today because I did that thing with Czech News, but we've spent close to $2 million since 2021 on RCMP. So that's 500,000 a year. It's a good chunk of money from 2021 till now. And we're planning on spending more. I don't doubt that we're going to try and rectify this whole situation, but it's not, the taxpayers need to understand, it's not because you haven't done anything. It's not because you haven't made some efforts. It's because, again, senior levels of government have downloaded the cost of all the support staff, the cost of vehicles, the cost of desks and chairs and everything else. I mean, you got to add all those things up. It's not just about police officers anymore. It's about the overall cost of what it is to run a location there. And if you think about it, and I was thinking about it today after I'd even talked, I mean, we also are getting CRD housing trust funds to build, affordable housing for, displaced peoples and stuff like that, which is, fine. And somebody has to do it somewhere, whatever. But those are also increasing the population of our town, and not because we necessarily were looking for that. It's because we have the cheapest land. So in the CRD, this is where they're going to keep building apartment buildings for the unhoused, because you can buy land here a lot more reasonable than you can in downtown Victoria or Oak Bay or something. So that's going to add to numbers. So, we're handcuffed in a few ways, and a lot of the people in those situations don't pay a lot of tax money. They don't pay the money that a lot of people who are living in the district of Sooke pay. So we don't get, when we have a developer coming, we say, no, you got to increase the cost of amenities and DCCs and do all the stuff to cover their shares, but we're not necessarily getting it. And of course, up until now, those buildings haven't been paying a big share of municipal tax, but they're going to start paying more as it comes. And then we'll be able to come up with more funding when that starts to happen as well. And that's the problem with, giving deferred taxes and stuff like that to good projects and stuff, is you're not getting the money that goes into policing, fire and municipal staff. So I thought I'd add that because those reports could come to us too and help us, manage and fight what it is we're trying to accomplish, and without us looking like the bad guys because we're not willing to spend $10 million on more policing and things like that when we're doing the best we can with the ability and the money that we're being given. So anyhow, thank you.
Okay, thank you, members of council. During the recess, I was notified that if council is interested, this could be added to the currently scheduled committee of the whole on February the 17th. So the way the schedule works, if I've have this right here. The first regular meeting is February the 9th, and then we have a scheduled committee of the whole for the 17th. So this could add to that particular meeting date on the 19th. On the 17th is a Tuesday, given that the Monday is Family Day, and we could have it there. There is an opportunity to, staff can reach out to our base commander to invite him back. As I understand, there may be more of his presentation, or just to be available to have council ask any other questions from council. And then further to what Councillor Haldane has said, so thank you for raising. Yes, the numbers are staggering. However, every quarter that our base commander presents, we're receiving this type of information. We have been making increases to the budget as requested time and time again. We also have needed to absorb the cost of 911, which was an almost 4% tax increase last year. We knew it was coming, but it did take some time for the province to actually issue the invoice with the accurate numbers. So that finally came. We have been doing advocacy, firstly around receiving a portion of cannabis revenue, and then that seemingly is not going anywhere. So then our next pivot was on a cell phone levy, which seemingly hit a closed door, but there seems to be a shift occurring in the province, given that this does have province-wide support and has also been implemented across the country. So is cannabis revenue in Quebec and Ontario, however, not here in BC. But in the meantime, certainly for the businesses impacted, that is a significant impact. Like all of those businesses were closed today. Every single one doing, and likely because of some form of remediation or work that is happening with that. So not only is the business owner not in their business, their employees have been impacted, their suppliers have been impacted, residents who enjoy or frequent these businesses have been impacted. It's a devastating hit to our community. Unfortunately, this is not the first such event. The biggest one that I can recall was when Evergreen Plaza was hit. That entire building was consumed, and several businesses were displaced. Next door to us, where the apartment building currently stands, it was vacant, but the former Mulligan site was also targeted by arson. There's been slash piles around the community that have been lit, and several attempts all over the place. So that's more, I've drifted towards the second one, but it just shows that this is on the minds of residents. So I am in support of having a more fulsome conversation, and it'll flow in with the budget. So and we have availability on that time. So I'll close off debate on the first one. All those in favor, please. Yes.
I apologize. I just wanted to draw to council's attention that based on the discussion you had, there's a proposed text changes that are on the screen in front of you, just with the direct instead of ask, and to bring forward to the next committee of the whole instead of scheduling a new committee of the whole.
Okay. That just happened. Amazing. Okay, so those are all friendly, so I'm not going to call for amendments, but that is happening. Okay. You have a question about that, or you're raising your hand to vote? Oh, voting. Okay. Okay, quickly question.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the chamber could be invited to this meeting formally, so, but with the committee of the whole, I guess the public is welcome to sit for up to 5 minutes with comment. Yes, thank you.
I would say it's not a hard 5 minutes, it's up to, because we could have 50 people, 100 people each talking for 5 minutes, and we're not going to get anywhere. So part of it is having an effective decision. So I wouldn't put 5 minutes per speaker, because we actually have decisions to get to and things have to be done. Okay, so I'll call the question. All in favor, please. And that's carried unanimously. The second one by Councillor Pearson, that council directs staff to bring forward a timely report on potential assistance the district could or may provide in the short term, increasing security surveillance in the downtown business core currently experiencing increased crime and damage. Moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Bateman. Go ahead, Councillor Pearson.
Yeah, and I bring this forward because in the background, motion number one is going on. There's a budget discussion and my motion is specifically on the short term. Is there a way that we could, out of council contingency or whatever, after we got a staff report, to put another set of eyes in the downtown core? Because I was telling Councillor Bateman at the break, my wife and I toured Pandora Street yesterday. We went down and kind of went through there and toured. And what Trudy asked me, she said, sorry, my wife asked me, well, why don't they move out? Like, what are they? I said, well, it's because the services are provided. And we have the same going on in our downtown core. The food is here, the medications are here, the Hummingbird Place is here, and Hummingbird Place contains a lot of support. And there's nooks and crannies where you can actually potentially stay warm overnight and things like that. So it's, I think our downtown core could use another set of eyes. What that looks like, I would hope that staff could come back with a report in the short term, and that we could potentially fund it until the decision's made on the budget with the increased police, because I think that's all part of it. I mean, Greg, our Staff Sergeant Wilcox was pretty clear that more boots on the ground are going to help him with certain things that go on. And he actually made a comment to Ms. Fix's presentation at the last council, at the committee of the whole, what was going on. So I think it's incumbent upon us to try and come up with some solution. Anyway, that's a lot of motivation. Sorry, I didn't mean to take that long.
Councillor Bateman?
Well, that's exceptionally well said. So I have nothing more to add to that other than council should be capitalized.
Okay, can we capitalize council, and a friendly amendment would be to swap out downtown for town center?
Yeah.
We don't always say downtown, Sooke, so I don't know where that is. I'm just
My
teasing.
kids all grew up uptown.
I know, it's either upset, or- anyway. I think it's just, we refer to it as, in all of our mapping, as the town center, so we can then get a bit more specific in the staff report, but it is sort of where the main thrust of our commercial businesses are located. Go ahead, Councillor
And I
Pearson.
just want to add is that Councillor Haldane, myself, and Councillor Bateman were at the Chamber of Commerce meeting last week. A long-term business made a presentation tonight, a business that was there. The business owner was at her wit's end, in tears, and we're holding people hostage in their own business, and they're eking out a living that, it's a struggle every single day. And darn it, I just like to somehow come up with some little help, some way. I don't know what it is, but they look to us for support. And we are the local government. So.
Okay, Councillor Haldane.
Yeah, I agree with what you said there for sure. The other thing is there's efficiencies that could maybe be done. The community association does rent security to look after the community hall there, and we pay so much every month, and they check out at night because people go underneath our stairs and hunker down and do different things. So we've got somebody basically on call. So maybe there's efficiencies where there's a number of businesses downtown who may be already doing a little bit. If we pull it all together, you get somebody could stay there every night or at least weekends and stuff like that. But I don't know if that's possible to that, but I can tell you that I know the one outfit that does do it. I think the banks do it. They have a separate security but maybe some dialogue. A couple of guys from the bank did come to the chamber meeting and stuff like that. So there's some people to talk to out there.
There's a few, so I am in support of this. I think it's the case, just for clarity, when Councillor Pearson, when you mentioned councillor contingency, we haven't established that yet.
Oh, no, I don't.
So it all sort of flows into the budget conversation, a conversation maybe that is getting, in this case, what did we expend out of council contingency last year or the previous ones? Maybe part of that is then redirected in this case. So it's not new. Everything is new because of the current year. I'm just looking at where the revenue would come from because it's a fresh new year, right? So there's no leftover contingency from last year to spend. And then what this year's contingency will be is yet to be determined. Maybe it's not the same amount that it was previously because a certain amount is going towards this. I don't know. I think Councillor Haldane raises a point that maybe our staff will need to reach out and see this report. I know that we want it soon, ideally in the February committee of the whole, because then it ties together, is we need a bit of who is doing what. And so this is where our staff may just need to reach out to some of the business owners or landlords. They may or may not want to share their security schedules publicly. Because then it's like, I just don't think you should, because then it's like, here's when we have security, here's when we don't. Like, you need to just keep it that. I think it's understood what I'm trying to say. I don't want to broadcast when we don't have anyone here. We always have people covering everything. And then what is available, because I've seen different uniforms in different places, but it might just depend on the business. It's like some are inside, some are outside. So it's going to vary a bit, but I think for anyone watching this or is interested, maybe forward that information to our staff and they can take that in. I just don't feel it should be fully public what people are doing. So perhaps to Ms. Vix, who's here in attendance tonight, if you have the ability to share that with our staff after, that would be great. As well as Councillor Haldane, that makes sense. But then we can get a sense of, okay, here's what we feel we could do. If right now, this is what it's going to cost, because that is the biggest thing. What does this cost, and what sort of contract and what sort of process? Because we also have a way where we have to post and tender and wait for a call when it's over a certain amount, but our staff and finance would be able to describe that a bit more. So that's all information that could come forward at a later date.
And my point was, in the short term, is that I anticipate in the new budget, hopefully boots get on the ground from the RCMP, and this may be just a temporary short-term fix. That's kind of my thought process on this motion, so.
It may be, unfortunately,
not.
though, if the calls keep increasing, then there's always going to be a demand for more boots until it levels off. And I think that's what we were hoping to see happen, where eventually things kind of level off with a certain population, they stay at a certain call, and then you can start to address it and to bring it down. In our case, we're growing as a community. Our problems are growing with us. The calls are growing, is not quite leveled off yet. And we may still need to watch that trend for a while. And so to your point earlier, Council, like, why is everyone down and we're up? Well, when we're growing and continue to grow, things are going to continue growing, and there could be a delayed response to that growth. And then here's what's happening. And it takes a while for everything to come into play, and then it levels off. And then we'll hopefully start to trend downwards. But in many cases, it needs a sustained effort. I used to manage property downtown. We always had security. We'll always continue to have security, regardless of how many occupants were in the building. It's just the reality. And then it increased significantly. I'm no longer there, but in the past 10 years, talking to people that are still there, what they had to bring in was significantly higher than what was at the time. So anyway, I will conclude remarks on that and call the question. All in favor, please. And that's carried unanimously. Okay, thank you for those. Bit of a change in process. We'll go back to the other notices of motion. And this is from Councillor Bateman. So this will be received tonight, debated at the next. Okay, and that would be that council approved $500 from council contingency fund to cover costs of a gift to be presented by Mayor Tate on behalf of the District of Sooke to the city of Natori, Japan. And that council request a staff report on the creation of a reserve fund to support future official trips to and/or district engagement with Sooke's sister city of Natori.
So moved.
That's moved by, well, you don't have to do anything. It's just here for information. It'll be debated at the next meeting.
Oh.
Yes.
Can we waive dessert? I mean,
We don't need to. This can,
okay.
we have more information to come by the next meeting.
Okay, because I thought if we waived it, then we could just knock it right off here. Then we don't have to deal with it.
Councillor Pearson would like to waive notice.
Absolutely.
Okay, is there a seconder to waive notice? Seconded by Haldane. And I'll call the question on waiving notice then. All those in favor? Any opposed? it's not unanimous. So,
Right, okay, I'll wait notice.
but now I'm opposed. Okay. I will recall that then, reconsider that one. All those in favor of waiving notice? Any opposed? None opposed? Don't.
No, no, I'm opposed.
Don't. It's carried unanimously. Okay, so Counselor Bateman. I'm not gonna read it out again because I just did, so I'll look for a seconder. Seconded by Counselor Pearson. Go ahead, Counselor Bateman.
Well, Mayor Tate, you're off to Natori in late March. And you mentioned a couple of meetings ago that you were going to finance the strip entirely on your own. And I mean, that's admirable and wonderful and all, but you are there on to a percentage of your time there, I imagine, not knowing really the details of what you've got planned, but you'll be on official business. And I think we need to support you. The district needs to support you to some degree. I've come up with this. I noted that in the past there have been these gifts. It's a cultural norm to have a gift exchange, and I believe thanks to our corporate officer, I learned that when the Natori mayor traveled with a student cultural exchange in March 2019, the district spent $600 on a gift and dinner for the Natori delegation. So I thought 500 was a suitable fee to at least cover that piece, to prevent that from being an out-of-pocket expense for yourself. And then the second portion of the motion, the need to have a reserve fund in place to, because this is a sister city and there will be a lot of back and forth over time, particularly with Journey Middle School continuing its student exchanges. There's one planned, I believe, for this upcoming spring. Not this year. They've canceled that. Okay. So anyway, a relatively small reserve fund, if created, would be available for future exchanges. And potentially, not knowing the kind of expenses you're undertaking, I would think the district would need to be supporting you with some of your travel expenses, the percentage based on the time you'll be in Japan on official business. So that's why I didn't really want to address this tonight, but because that's a consideration, but we don't have a reserve fund at this point. I don't know. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Counselor Bateman. I'll go to the seconder and then I'll speak after that.
I just think that it's incumbent upon us to support international things. $500 is not a lot of money as a gift. And no, I support it. So, and it takes it off of our agenda and it reduces the administration. We're here now. Let's go.
All right. Thank you, members of council, for your thoughtfulness. So just going back a bit for the interest of those that are here, Sooke has had a friendship city arrangement with the city of Natori. It predates me. It's been in place probably before we incorporated as a community, is my understanding. It was spearheaded by teachers of Journey Middle School who started the exchange. So our students would go and then we would host back and forth year over year. In years past, my predecessors have gone and with the students. And then whenever they come, we host them here in Chambers. And so in 2020, the city of Natori invited me to come. Japan was actually provided train tickets and flight tickets, but then COVID canceled the whole thing. So it never happened. And then it actually took some time for everything to restart again. And then last year, I would say it's 2024. So then I had thought of going. 2022, we didn't go. But then Natori had a citywide celebration marking their history as a city. which I was unable to attend as my father was in failing health. And then I looked at considering going in 2024, but I couldn't commit to it also for that particular reason. And that was when our students went the last time. I have since learned, and then we hosted a delegation last year in Chambers. So usually there is a gift exchange, and then we host a lunch with the students and their teachers, as well as our host families and students as well, usually here in Chambers. I have since learned, though, that our students, for now, the exchange is on hold and our students are not going to be traveling. So when I asked a bit as to why that was, there's very few organizations that host international travel for students. These are Journey Middle School students, and there's very few that do that. And it has to be for a certain length of time in order for that, for the insurance, for the provider and all of that to get on board. The cost of travel is also escalated. So it comes down to an equity piece on who can go and who cannot go and who can fundraise. So there's some students who should go, but their families, they just can't make it happen. So that is causing another concern. The teachers also have to fundraise and do this on their own because there needs to be a certain ratio. The other challenge is that for some, like these are middle school students landing in Tokyo, one of the biggest cities in the world, who may or may not have traveled before. So there was some anxiety. There's also, I learned this certain Black device, Black Mirror, has changed how we communicate. And now you have students with unregulated free device time that they may have more restrictions on when they're at home or attending school. So that's another factor. And also in some cases, to make up for the time, they also finding age appropriate activities isn't always easy. It all depends on the student, whether they can be into, if you've never done food safe, you're going to now learn how to make sushi in Tokyo, but you've never actually handled a knife or done any, like it just really varies. So for many reasons, the program is on hold. But at the same time, several years ago, we also were starting the conversation of starting the sister city. One other thing I'll add here is that there is a shortage of host families available to host on both ends, actually. Here in Sooke, many families have suites, care for elders. They simply don't have an available empty guest room on demand in a short period of time. So it's a scramble, or it's the case of finding students that are at the same age. So we have Journey middle school students going to a high school, different age group. And in some cases, we don't necessarily have families that can host students of the same age. They might not have any students in their house. So there's just there is those challenges with the hosting side as well. So that all said, for the district to take on doing this, it's going to be a challenge for the district, but maybe something we have a conversation with the school district as a whole. That may be where it lands. But part of this then goes into a sister city relationship. And what does that mean? So it's more government to government. The one piece about Natori, as folks may recall, in 2012, this area of Japan was heavily impacted by a significant earthquake, almost 9 on the Richter scale, and a devastating tsunami. And personally, I lived and worked in this region for about a year. So I did live and work in Natori, and I also lived in a place called Ishinomaki. So Sendai is the capital of Miyagi Prefecture. Natori is sort of 10 minutes by train, half an hour by car, just outside. Ishinomaki is around the bay, about an hour by train. And the whole area, I don't remember how many people perished, over 18,000 people by the significant tsunami. It was and held the highest seawall in the world, and it was completely breached. So there's a lot of information about that. The relationship, though, is strong. Canada sent materials to help with the rebuilding effort, and the city has rebuilt in a different area. There is a maple pavilion where our artwork from Sooke is displayed. where our Sooke flag has been flying at times, and they do a whole they don't celebrate the tsunami, but there is a holiday where the rebuilding and the life and all that they've done is highly recognized. So I'm going for that particular event. And it's personal to me because I know people that tragically lost their life in that event. They also have areas where they show now how high the water was and all the work and the relief effort that a community did together to rebuild itself and to find its way, a lot of lessons learned. So for us, we're in that same ring of fire. We do the same sorts of big shakeout drills. We talk about a tsunami. We've had some warnings of such, but we've never been impacted on that scale, and hopefully won't for a very long time. So there's some lessons learned there for that relief effort. So I've always wanted to go. I hesitate to accept anything other than the gift because this is a very personal to me trip. This is a place where I lived, where people I've loved were lost. So in some ways, even though I've been to Japan many times, I've not had the ability. My family is in a different area. I've not gone up to Natori because I tend to go more eastward to be with my family. So on this particular trip, though, it is an effort to go up to Sendai. And so I can share that the city of Natori is sending a delegation to meet me upon arrival to help to get me onto the Narita Express and then onto the Shinkansen to take me up, and then they're sourcing a hotel. So some of my what would have been out of pocket are now being covered by Natori City directly. For note, I leave on the Wednesday. I arrive around 3 o'clock Thursday because they're about 17 hours ahead. Clear customs, take the Narita Express. Shinkansen's about 2 hours. I'll probably be in Sendai that evening. The next morning, I'm meeting them at 9 in the morning, and then we'll go to the market and then have lunch with the mayor. He'll tour me around. The next day I plan to go out to Ishinomaki. There's a school that I might have worked at that is still standing. It's sort of a memory because every student that went to that school was safely evacuated that day by their teachers. All of them were saved. Another school, unfortunately, was not as lucky, but they have saved this one school. And then there's a memorial park where they've planted trees. I'm curious to see it. And then they have the ceiling of this building is as high as the water was that day. And it would be like probably Municipal Hall to where our harbor and basin is. So I'm curious of that elevation, and that just gives you a sense on how high the water came in through that town. But following that, my son is traveling with me. I'm taking him way off grid into Fukushima to a certain hotel area. Demon Slayer fans will know the Infinity Castle. It was the inspiration. This is all getting into personal stuff. And the station master is a cat. Some of you may find that interesting. And then I'm making my way back through Tokyo over to Kobe. And then Kobe was my mother's hometown, which was hit in 1995 by a 7 or 8 point Richter scale earthquake. The entire city burned for days. 50,000 people died. Thankfully, not my family and not many others, because the time of this event was 5 in the morning when many people had not left home. But if it was an hour later, it would have been devastating. Trains would have been full. Those trains fell. But the city is completely rebuilt. But there's certain areas where you can go and actually see where they've left things, so you can see the scale of what the seismic activity was. But that all said, that is now in my personal part of that. But I'll have more to show about later. But the intention here is to elevate this into a sister city so that future iterations of council will have the opportunity to learn and see about when we talk about an earthquake or a tsunami and do we take it seriously? Well, here's a place where you can actually see what happened, what was done to the land, A lot of areas that were farm are still that's heavily salt because of the seawater and how a community rebuilt, what it did, what it learned, and there's whole lesson learned on what's available there. And also to see, if you stand in Shibuya, the Scramble intersection, in 3 minutes, you'll see our entire town population go by because there's over 1,000 people that cross at that intersection every minute. So if you stand there, you can see our population in a very short period of time, and it all seems to work. But I still think to live is to travel, and there's opportunities to learn. Councils in the past have gone on international trips and have taken lessons back. This is just to put something formal. It may be the case where council funds their own trips. But certainly the delegation of Japan is interested, and in these uncertain times, it is important to make and strengthen friendships and allies around the world in a good way to bring forward community and potential and best interests, all those good things. So I don't want to ramble on too much longer as I have, but that in a nutshell is why this is here. So I hope that makes sense. Okay. Thank you. I'll leave it at that. I can bore you with 1,000 photos after the fact. But on that note, I will call the question. All those in favor, please? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, we'll move into council verbal reports.
Now I have this one other.
Oh, you have one other motion. So this one is done. You have another one? That was all together.
Yeah. Now this, I did send this through this morning.
Let me check.
Yeah, let me,
I have one on the community safety.
yeah, here it is. I'll forward this to corporate services.
Did you,
There.
this one, we don't have it all. Maybe just read it out and we'll bring this to the
Okay,
next
So
meeting.
this, I'm seeking to waive.
Okay, microphone.
Yeah. Seeking to waive notice on this motion, which reads as such, the
Oh.
council direct the Community Economic Development Committee to receive at its meeting of February 2nd, 2026, a presentation and report from the organizers of the January 20th, 2026 Visioning Sooke Community Economic Development Gathering and report back on its findings to council. So I won't motivate, but I am seeking a waive notice.
Okay, so Councillor Bateman would like to waive notice. Councillor Pearson is seconding it. So this is to waive notice. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. And now we'll just get the motion on the screen. This is for a report to go to the CEDC, the Community Economic Development Committee. We're just waiting for staff to load it. Sorry, I did not see that.
It's okay. Firing them out.
I think it's just the way they group together.
Just getting it out of my system.
Here it is. That council direct the Community Economic Development Committee to receive at its meeting of February 2nd, 2026, a presentation and a report from the organizers of the January 20th Visioning Sooke Community Economic Development Gathering, report back on its findings to council. Okay, so that is moved by Councillor Bateman. Is there a seconder by Haldane? Go ahead, Councillor
Yes,
Bateman.
so it's very simple. As we heard earlier, the standing committee, CEDC requires council direction for its agenda items. And Ms. Strongwind, who has left the building, and Scott Taylor, two members of the CEDC committee, hosted along with the chamber the Visioning Sooke event last week. They did some research and they presented on a couple of subjects, and the CEDC committee at its final meeting, I think it would be time well spent to have a presentation from the two of them. So that's basically it, and the idea that we would report back as a committee on the findings of that Visioning Sooke.
Okay, sounds good. Councillor Pearson as a seconder.
Nothing.
Okay. Pretty straightforward. This will just go to CEDC. All those in favor, please. It's carried unanimously. Okay, we're through that. Thank you. Council verbal reports. Councillor Pearson.
Three things to report. I went to the Chamber of Commerce, swearing in of the two new directors last week was good. It was an interesting meeting because I was there with my fellow councillors, Mr. Bateman and Acting Mayor Haldane, and we got to hear from everybody in the room.
Yeah.
A little bit about them. It was kind of a different format, and everybody spoke and said a little bit about themselves. And it's always enlightening to go to a meeting like that and hear from numerous people and businesses, entrepreneurs, and what services they provide and what's are available in the district. So that was good. I attended the fishing, Sports Fishing Association's meeting on Saturday. I brought my little sign today. There's some interesting discussion around the allocation of salmon as a resource, and how it was identified. Salmon are considered common property under the Crown, which the common property meant that everyone, and apparently the definition I was told was that king somewhere decided a long time ago, right back to the Magna Carta, that certain rights came with property that was public. That's why to date, you can not own the bed of a stream, the bed of a lake. There's public places, and the right to fish was part of that into our law. So what's being proposed by the federal government right now is a reassignment of that allocation. So with dwindling stocks, there's the portion of the resource goes to First Nations, and being able to commercially fish for Chinook and coho stock. And the government is proposing to take the allocation of the sports fishing, which is very minimal, and transferring that directly to the First Nations, as opposed to taking it out of the commercial allocation. There's three parts of the allocation. There's the First Nations fishery, there's the commercial fishery, and then there's the sports fishing, which is part of our heritage. Interesting. The challenge still remains that, the stocks are dwindling, managed by Ottawa, not managed a lot, according to the people there, not managed by science, it's managed by emotion. Not good decisions in aid to talk about the southern resident killer whales, and that population, dwindling or being, at risk at this current part. A lot of good information around that. Fishermen have solutions, because there's this blanket closure in a massive area, which is enjoyed by a lot of recreational fishermen. They're saying is that with technology, the ability to communicate, they can pretty well tell where whales are. They have sharks that have beacons on them, and they know where those sharks are swimming in Hawaii. So they proposed that if those were in there, nobody's allowed to fish on this day. Fishing closures for commercial fishery happen by the hour. So it's a fact that the DFO manages fisheries that, okay, the herring is going to open at 12 o'clock on Sunday, and then by radio and by communication, it closes at 9 o'clock Monday morning to the minute. So the capability is out there, and that's what the Sports Fishing Institute wants to promote is solutions, but sharing the resource. So it's good. It was well attended. There was over 1,500 people in there, and I went with Councillor Haldane and ourselves, and several federal elected MPs were there from the Vancouver Island. There was 3 of them, and so it was interesting to hear from them. They're in opposition, even with a minority government, but they seem to be there standing with fishermen. So and some local politicians as well. So it's good. And on February the 18th at 1:30 p.m., I attended the regional water supply meeting, and my glasses case is empty when I got here tonight, so it's difficult for me to read. Gord Baird was reelected to the chair. He was acclaimed. Commissioner Green and former Commissioner, Green was the former vice chair, ran in a election against Councillor Mary Wagner from Langford, and Councillor Mary Wagner is now the deputy chair of the CRD Water Commission. So we've got some representation in Western communities along with Gord Baird, which is good. Two things. There was the final report on the Leech River watershed was released. And then the final culmination of the DCC was re-voted on again. I voted on the last meeting on November the 17th to have a municipal assist factor. My reasoning is that, and I think there was 7 of us in opposition or support of that, is that we are where development is going to take place now. Sooke, the West Shore, and those DCCs that are being proposed are going to add to the cost of housing. Saanich and Victoria are largely built out, and of course they vote against it because any development there, they feel they've already paid their share. Whether it was equitable along the way or not, I don't know. So the proposal that was voted down, the 1% municipal assist factor, and then it went directly to a DCC bylaw that would be completely funded by new growth. And I did vote in opposition to it, and I'll just give you the numbers here. Urban Systems did the big presentation helped with creating of this DCC. $9,000 per door on single family residences, and I think this is on page 50. I'll go back. I had these kind of ready. $9,044 for low density residential. Medium density residential per unit will be $7,914. That's triplexes, fourplexes, and townhouses. High density residential per unit will be $5,087. Commercial will be $33.92 per square meter. Industrial will be $16.96 per square meter. And institutional will be $73.48 per square meter. It's going to add to the cost of building, and affordable housing is definitely going to be affected by this, in my humble opinion. And then, of course, that whenever there's DCCs, they have to go into a DCC fund, and then that has to be in identified projects. So my opposition, and I was the only lone one, so the Deep Northern Intake Floating Pump Station is a DCC project worth $72 million. It's hard for me to separate that out. The people who are on the larger system are actually benefiting from that DCC project. So there was one dissenting vote on the board, and it was mine. I got a little write up in the Times call. They were kind of one. And anyways, I kind of feel that the people who have developed ahead of us may or may not. I can't see it clearly where they have paid their share. I mean, it's a funded system. It's a good model. I mean, based on the amount of water they sell is how they run their operations. So they don't have to do a lot of budgeting. They just raise the price of water to match their costs. So interesting discussion. So good news is that on January 13th, we are 100% full in the Sooke Lake Reservoir. So it was in jeopardy in November, and January's been almost the driest January on record. But December came through as it always does, Mother Nature, and filled us up. January 6th report was at 97, but the 13th we went over. So that's it.
Thank you, Councillor
That's a lot of
Kingston.
stuff.
That's a lot. No, that's very helpful. Thank you. Councillor Haldane, do you have anything to report out?
Same thing, chamber meeting. Voted in 2 new members on the board, and then Saturday I I was at the Duncan meeting for Sports Fishing Association. The only thing I can say about that I was really impressed with was there was a First Nations gentleman there who is who does charter fishing. He does grizzly bear hunting. He was wearing a sealskin vest or whatever because First Nations are still allowed to hunt seals and that. But he had a great perspective on it because he believes that it should be allocated evenly. He said, listen, we don't want to be the bad guys all the time. And, you know, we get to do lots of hunting, fishing, we take care of stuff. He believes it should be a third, a third, a third. And he believes the sports fishery should be allocated 1/3 of whatever it catches. And oddly enough, sports fishery takes 6% of whatever fish come through. They take nothing. So they're a deck chair on the Titanic. They don't do anything, but for some reason they're gonna go after a whole bunch of small towns all up and down the coast that rely on this huge. And First Nations are a big part of that. And the last thing they need is for people to become prejudiced because they think they're, and that's where this guy was kind of going. He said, listen, we don't need that kind of bad press and the publicity against that. We want to be in with everybody and share in the wealth, share in the stuff. Because there's lots of lodges and stuff up and down the coast that are owned by either First Nations or independent business owners and stuff. And they share in where they clean the fish, where they get gas from, all the stuff. Port Renfrew's huge with that because they've got people who park their boats all in First Nations and all over the docks around there, but they share in the wealth. And it's just nice. And it's very refreshing to see that we're working together as Canadians, you know, and I talked to him even after he did his big speech and he was one of the best speakers there. And he's just a really good guy who gets it. You know, he's actually one of the consultants down in Washington State and for Alaska. And he's a Canadian First Nations, not US, but because he has so much information, he's been in this game for a long time. He's about 60 years old. So anyhow, it was a good meeting. I like getting a perspective on what's outside of just even our little area, Sooke here. And it was nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bateman.
Yeah, thank you both for attending that meeting because our sports fishing industry is a big part of our tourism piece and community economic development. And so, yeah, thank you for being there and to you, Councillor Pearson, for that insights into the CRD's $2 billion water master plan and to be built out over 30 years, I think. And I imagine the DCCs are a component of the larger price tag. So I don't know how they're going to find that 2 billion, but it's a discussion, isn't it? A process. So for me, I too was at the Chamber of Commerce AGM and Councillor Haldane swore in the new board members, Philip Hume and Sherry Robb, and gave some pretty good speech too. Thank you. This is about small business and getting those small businesses moving on up out of homes into town center business space, which is a desperate need in the community, of course. I went to the Vision and Sooke Community Economic Development session of the Stickleback last week. I also was at the AGM for the Victoria Family Court and Youth Justice Committee. We had our keynote speaker was Dr. Jennifer Charlesworth, who is BC's representative for children and youth. She's been in this game for 40 years. She recognizes, she stated BC is a recognized leader in its approach to compassionate, strategic, and effective upstream intervention for children and youth. She stated age 11, which I know Ewan is heading into. That's a critical moment in a child's development. All those pressures, that's often the moment where things can go sideways for young people. And so the key going forward is that continued upstream to step in and help that 11-year-old find his way or her way or their way. That was her message. I also attended the virtual meeting of the Foundry, Sooke and West Shore Working Group, speaking of upstream intervention with young people. And at our Community Economic Development meeting in January, and we'll do this again next week, I think it is, February 2nd. We've been reviewing the Sooke Region Cultural Plan of 2011 and the 2020 review of it by the Sooke Program of the Arts Committee. We have a few motions that we're going to discuss again, and potentially you will be seeing them come into council. And that's that for me.
Over to you, Mayor.
Thank you, members of council. At the moment, I don't have much to report. I did highlight our deputy mayor, so I'm ever grateful for just jumping in at the last minute there. Just wanted to touch on Sea Park. We do have new members joining the commission, so because these appointments need to be endorsed by the CRD board, it looks like the commission won't be meeting until March. So usually Councillor Beddoes, as the current chair, reports out on that. However, it's still business as normal over at Sea Park. The ice always comes out around or just after spring break. So that means that hockey season locally is sort of moving towards playoff season for those that are interested in our Thunderbirds. Which brings me to the Wounded Warriors Run. So council has been supporting this organization for many years now. The Sooke to Sydney Run was spearheaded by the late Councillor Brenda Parkinson, recognizing anyone on the front line, military, police, firefighters, paramedics, corrections, security, healthcare, are all in their regular work exposed to traumatic events, actual threatened death and injury and otherwise. So this run is to highlight and to give support to veterans, first responders and their families. So there is a run that goes from Sooke to Sydney now. Which raises, and it starts at the Legion. In years past, our fire chief has participated in the run for part of it. Some of our others are out in the morning supporting the run, and we're usually there to give a bit of a send-off. So why I raise this with hockey is my young Thunderbird has an away game on Monday at 10, on Sunday at 10. So I need to be rinkside with him as we reach the final game. So I'm going to reach out to our deputy mayor for February, Councillor Haldane, again, to see if you are available Sunday morning to be at the Legion for 9 o'clock to give a bit of a send-off speech on my behalf, and we can prepare something for you. And then as well as other members of council, if you're available to be present, it would be the last one in our term. So that might be nice. So you can get back to me, but I would greatly appreciate that. Is I need to be in Shawnigan Lake from the sounds of it, as the puck drop there is at 10. Yeah, which is February the 1st. Okay. At the Legion. Yeah. So that would be wonderful, and we'll work on something. I know that our base commander Whiteside from CFB Esquimalt is participating in the run this year, so he'll be there. I'm not sure exactly. I don't recall all the other members of the actual run. For those of you that are traveling in and out of Sooke, just allow for some extra time. There is an escort to keep the runners safe. They will be in Langford, their next scheduled stop for 12. And I'm not quite sure of the route from there to Sydney, but there is some more options there. But just keep in mind, it's 8 days, 8 runners, 800 kilometers that they do. So that's coming up on Sunday. The other piece that I'll highlight is I was with artist Shelley Davies at Ravens Ridge Park, where we do have a new art installation in place. So if you're around, you can see it. Ms. Moog put out sort of a description about the artwork and the meanings behind all of this. It's beautiful. It really fills the space in a great way. So it's something to check out when you're at Ravens Ridge. I oddly walk by it, but it just depends on which way you come up. So if you come through the road, you'll see it there significantly. So that is just a new thing to celebrate. And I'll also share that council may be aware of our council club. This is our school program where we invite members of our various schools, our next generation, to come into chambers. We've put together a program for them. This was an initiative that we hoped to get a UBCM award for. We weren't. However, the magazine called, I don't remember, The Exchange, maybe? Is that what the magazine is called? We were featured within that magazine. So we sent it out, the magazine article, as well as a highlight of the program to various schools, and there's been a strong response. So I'll keep you all apprised about that, sort of hitting calendars in April and May, but a strong interest from our schools. And so it's always great to have young people here in Chambers to see how everything works. And it also have seen when I encounter young people that are in middle school or even at Edward Milne or have graduated, they all now they remember participating in this program and they feel that they have been seen and have contributed to the work that we're doing. So I think that shows that it's winning, that we're having some wins here, and future leaders, future mayor and councilors perhaps. So, and that's kind of what we want. And then just the interest in citizen engagement and so forth. So that's exciting to see. And other than that, I will call for a motion to adjourn. So that'll be that the January 26th regular meeting be adjourned, the time being 8:35 by Councillor Bateman, seconded by Pearson. Thank you, three of you, for attending tonight. We have one councillor on vacation and the other one off due to injury. We wish them both a safe return, to see them soon. And we'll see you all next month, which is only on Sunday. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, staff. Good night, everyone.